Tonight on the podcast, I'm down TOS Rewatch. It's Operation Annihilate, brought to you by Northrop Grumman.
Hail, Metal Nation. This is Podcasting Down. I'm Tim, that's Doug, and that's Matt. And we are finally at the end of Season 1. It's only taken years. Season 1 of Star Trek, the original series, Metal Rewatch. So for those who have forgotten or are new, we go through each episode and we decide how metal each act is and how good each act is. So that way we have an objective rating for the metalness and quality of each Star Trek episode and the parts therein. So I have not seen these episodes before, so you get the people, those two guys have seen it a bajillion times. Oh my God.
All right, sorry. My bad.
Your eyes went white. All right. So representing Northrop Grumman is Sam.
Hi.
And Doug's in our West Coast studio. So I am watching these for the first time. And on your mark, I will hit play.
Hit play.
Okay, go.
So we should say that the...
All right, now there's a ship. I mean, it's just me describing what's happening on the screen the whole time.
So we should point out that this is the only Star Trek episode with an M dash in its title. And also it's one of two Star Trek episodes with an exclamation mark. Doug, do you know the other exclamation mark title?
I bet it's Enterprise or something.
It is not Enterprise. Tim, would you like to guess?
Oh, is it the best of both worlds?
It's not it's not, but maybe it should be. But there is it is in your favorite series. It is The Bride of Chaotica, the wonderful Voyager episode that definitely needed to be made. Now, we're saying all this because the beginning of the episode's kind of shitty. So they're just on the bridge talking.
Wait. I did want to point out that if you're wondering what the hell an M dash is, then you're not listening to Podcast Them Down close enough, because we have literally discussed
We had a whole M dash episode.
All right. All right, go ahead.
Okay, so the Enterprise is going to the planet of Deneva. Captain Kirk is concerned, of course. They haven't been able to pick them up on any transmitter, including the private transmitter code GSK 783.
I see Spock has a light bright.
Yep. And they're also kind of concerned because there is a direct line of planets that have destroyed themselves because of mass insanity, which is pointing to Deneva. And they're like, well, that's weird. Now, why they didn't figure this out before they made the colony of Deneva, don't know. But anyway, everyone's a little concerned. And they're flying to Deneva. No one's picking up the phone. When all of a sudden they notice that a small, I guess a shuttlecraft, something, right, Doug? It's like a ship.
We never see it, I don't think.
We don't see it, but it takes off from the planet. And can you guess where it goes, Tim?
I know where it goes.
Oh, sorry. Okay, so it goes directly to the sun.
Yep.
But it doesn't appear to be out of control. So Kirk orders them to intercept, but it's out of tractor beam range because it always is.
He says, Scotty, tractor beam, and he looks at it and says it's out of range.
And this is another lazy Scotty episode. Although Scotty actually does something, I forget when it was. It's later on in the episode, but Scotty actually does something helpful, which I think is the only time he does anything helpful in the whole first season.
And he does that helpful thing wrong.
Yeah, that is true. That is true too. And so the ship flies into the sun. The moment before it burns up, the pilot cries out, "I did it! It's finally gone. I'm free."
Lice. Bed bugs. It's probably bed bugs.
So that's weird. And after the vessel is blown up in the sun, Dr. McCoy turns to Kirk and says, "Jim, your brother Sam and his family, aren't they stationed on this planet?" Dun, dun, dun. That's the teaser.
All right, well, let's talk about this.
Not in a good way, I have to be clear, but when Kirk yells at Uhura,
Oh, yeah.
when she's just trying to do her job, unfortunately, metal.
Yeah, no, that is that is true. Kirk is very well. I understandably, I guess, because his brother is imperiled. But he's a little grumpy throughout this episode. In fact,
Yeah, and there's some interesting assessment of risk and kind of this traditional stakes of things inverted, but we'll get to that. There is a nice wide bridge shot that features people who aren't in the close-ups because they're always stock. And at the very end, when Kirk's standing here and McCoy just comes up, it's like great posing, which is metal.
yeah, the blocking of this entry the teaser is pretty good. I will say that.
And Scotty's deadpan.
Yeah, it's out of range.
Whipsaw. I'm not going to do anything.
I like how
that's pretty good.
Spock not only has that light bright, he also has a hypno device.
He does, yeah.
Looks like he's trying to get hypnotized by the computer.
And this is we've heard of Sam before, very strangely.
Well, I mean, we know all about his adventures from Strange New Worlds, of course, when he was stationed on the Enterprise and palled around with Spock. But we have heard about Sam before.
Yeah, he's mentioned in a first season episode randomly.
Yep.
But one from before this. All right, let's throw some numbers out. It's a 3 quality. There's nothing offensive about it. It's just not, I don't know, flying a ship into the sun. Oh, sun. Interesting.
Only they.
Through lines for idiots.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's a 4 quality and a 4 metal.
4. I mean, there is something metal about just flying fucking into the sun and saying I'm free. So that's
watching someone else do it as well.
Yeah, and then impotently when you have a fucking spaceship that I believe can fly faster than the speed of light, which seems to be an operative thing there. But and they also know exactly where a time portal is, so they could just go back to yesterday and stop it. But anyway, so I'm going to give that a 5 metal and a 5 quality.
I'm going to split the difference and go 4.5 and 4.5.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, they chase that thing and then don't do anything. So,
I mean, that is far away.
Chase it?
That is metal.
Yeah, not following through.
All right, shall we continue then?
Yeah. Hell yeah.
All right, so Act 1. We open with the Captain's Log. Captain's Log, stardate 3287.2. The mass insanity we have tracked across this section of the galaxy seems to have already touched Deneva. That planet, colonized over a century ago, is one of the most beautiful in the galaxy, as we'll soon see.
As we definitely will see.
Does it look like Southern California?
I mean, it's beautiful. Yeah. So the planet was colonized 100 years ago as a freighting line base.
You know all about those, Tim.
We learned that Scotty has done the Deneva run.
In less than 1 parsec?
Yeah. We get it. Hey, they address that.
Yeah,
that's a good movie, unfortunately.
I refuse to watch it.
Oh, my God. Wait, I didn't realize that.
Coming to 2028.
Is Doug a solo truther?
Yes.
Nice.
So there's a distress call from a private channel. Oh, and here's where Kirk weighs into Uhura because the other party disconnects.
Yeah.
Then we go to the transporter room. It's a big group, and Kirk makes it very clear that the yeoman has to do her job and transcript thoroughly everything.
Now, there must be, my guess is that this is supposed to be Uhura, because there's a later scene in this episode where it's this yeoman and another black woman sitting in Uhura's chair, but it's not Nichelle Nichols. So there must have been some kind of because she does a lot of Ahura-y stuff in this episode. So there must have been some kind of schedule error.
Yeah, are you
Shell Nichols at a concert or something?
like you think it's a stand-in that they're like action?
They're making do somehow.
This
Someone's availability.
This actress is very interesting because I believe she's now a Carmelite nun.
Wow. She she does have the exact same uniform, and if she's the same height, then I'd buy the stand-in theory, which is my own theory. So.
All right, so the team.
All right, I see they're in San Francisco now.
Oh, they're not just in San Francisco.
They're not in San Francisco. Yeah. First of all, they're in the beautiful colony city of Denver, with a population of 10,000. There's 1 million people on this planet.
You know what? This looks like the construction of the Nickelodeon zone at King's Dominion.
It is a Northrop defense complex.
Oh, really?
The Northrop Space Park, just south of LAX.
Yep.
And it still looks like this. So yeah, they're walking around the space park, and we see that tall building. It says Northrop on it, but it's covered up by the underpass.
There's lots. If you watch this knowing that, there's lots of very carefully framed shots to like hide signs and stuff.
Oh yeah, I see it. That scene just came up.
But I also like when they walk in the door here. It's just very clearly like a 1960s door with like the push handle and stuff.
Well, yeah, I mean, good design is universal and eternal.
That's true.
So there's a crazy mob.
Not for long.
They're yelling violent things. Well, there's kind of an interesting, not quite contradictory interpretation.
Right.
Spock thinks they're trying to help, and Kirk thinks they're trying to brain the group with their clubs.
Right. Although they're saying, "Get out of here, go away." They're clearly hostile.
And so they're phased, and even after being phased, their brains are being violently stimulated.
Yeah. They're like, it's very sad for them.
So then we go into a Caltech building. Actually, no, we go into Kirk's quarters.
Yeah, we go into Sam Kirk's quarters.
For some reason, we're back up on the Enterprise. Anyway, we see the hysterical wife of Sam Kirk, and we see his body. And full credit to Strange New Worlds. They did a good job.
They did.
Spock offers some. So anyway, he's dead, Sam Kirk.
But we have to look at him.
Yeah. There's awkward.
There's a very awkward turnaround where have you seen Sam Kirk yet, Tim?
I see his orange one-piece jumpsuit.
Oh, but you haven't seen his face yet, right?
And they just rolled him over.
Okay. So
what a mustache.
So Sam Kirk is revealed to be William Shatner with a hairpiece and a fake mustache.
I forgot that. Yeah. So no wonder he looked. Yeah.
It's like, that's his brother, all right.
I have to back it up. I want to see this again. Go on.
Spock offers sort of...
McCoy's just fondling the other corpse.
Spock offers sort of glancing, awkward condolences, and then they immediately notice the open vent.
Yeah.
And then the nephew is discovered here, and the nephew's still alive.
Whereas they keep calling him the boy, even though he has a name.
Yeah, and then they beam the boy up to the ship.
Yep.
And then in the middle of their away team mission, Kirk agrees to also go to the ship.
Because, his brother just died. It was his brother.
There aren't too many consequences to this.
Nope.
So Sam's wife, I don't know her name.
Her name is
and I should.
Orlin. She has a very strange name, and I don't know why she has such a strange name, but Erlin, something like that.
What did they even say it? Anyway, say the woman, that sounds patronizing. She's not the intent. Anyway,
there's the woman, the boy, and the corpse.
Good point. Yes. Okay. So she's in the sick bay. She wakes up. They tell her Sam died, but the boy is still alive. She starts ranting about them and they, which came 8 months ago from Ingram B. She abdicates the crew of the ship that brought them here of any responsibility. She's very clear about that in her hysteria. She says they use pain to control and steer people's bodies and limbs, whatever they are. Then she dies, and then it plays the season 1 sad music cue. This concludes the need for Kirk to be on the Enterprise, so he then beams back down to the team. So they've been gold bricking it and not doing anything.
So to review, he watched his brother die. He watched his sister-in-law die. His nephew is in the midst of some horrible unknown condition, and Kirk's just like, all right, I'm going back downstairs. Like this. Yeah.
And they're just standing around, and they're like, oh yeah, there's a noise. We're going to this noise. Unrealized over there. Yeah. So then we end up in the Caltech, like applied physics building lobby. And then we see these fried eggs. It's kind of like fried eggs and saran wrap, flattened, and they can't see them. They're hiding up in the rafters.
They look like, Tim, if you remember the movie Toys, there was a scene where Robin Williams is reviewing various fake vomit. And so they have gag novelty vomit kind of vibes to them too.
That's actually, yeah.
Toys came out like
description.
30 years ago and was like a relatively obscure movie. Of course I know what you're talking about.
I love Toys. I still sing that song when the bells ring out for Christmas in the closing of the year. But it's a new Christmas classic.
Well, do you remember the preview for Toys? Had Robin Williams in the field, and then Mr. Burns did it when he was looking for his heir.
A much better name that was proposed for that movie was Tonka Tonka Tonka.
Oh my God.
I wonder why they didn't. Oh, graphs. I wonder why they did. This scene's pretty slow.
It is.
They haven't gotten to the fried eggs yet.
That's also a Barry Levinson movie. Also,
that's right.
We should do We could do Toys, Avalon. We could do the whole Baltimore trilogy.
Yeah.
Wait,
4 great movies. Good Morning Vietnam, and then these weird things with his name on it.
Did Toys take place in Baltimore?
No, it took place.
Hi, I'm Robin Williams, and I'm in Dundalk.
Man, Barry Levinson
Cadillac
was the best.
Man could have been set in Dundalk.
Oh, I bet. Oh, is it? I wonder. Well, The Natural's set in Baltimore too. Anyway, we're way off topic. Anyway, it takes a long time.
Yeah, we're at Caltech right now.
All right, you're at Caltech. They're making this buzz. It's described as a buzzing noise, but it just sounds like mouth farts. So they just kind of go like. So when you're looking at the pulsate, imagine them making like mouth farts, like that.
Yeah, then they phase 1, and then they're getting ambiguous tricorder readings. Mm-hmm. It's not really out, and then they're like, we should take it back to the Enterprise, and then Kirk's like, it's too contained in here, not safe. So they start to leave. Then the thing gets up and attacks Spock in the back.
Yep. And if you look closely, you can see all the fishing wire they used.
Oh yeah, I do have the HD.
Yep.
One, so
that concludes the.
One thing though, we learned that they try to fire phasers at them, but not even Force 3 sufficient to destroy most organisms will affect them.
Now, Matt, this is relevant for later, but I'm trying to. Is phaser 1 is the electric shaver, right?
Yeah,
and
phaser 1
is the full thing.
Exactly. But I believe phaser 1 can clip into the holster of phaser 2, or that might be the case. I forget.
It does, but I feel like they never actually. It's definitely doing that, right. But I don't know if they ever show it.
Okay,
like the actual relationship.
But phaser 1 is definitely the electric shaver.
All right, so that concludes the act. Tamara, where are you?
I'm in the chamber.
All right.
we were
At what
already
point?
here.
What is the advantage to a phaser rifle?
Power, I guess.
A phaser rifle is a military weapon,
that's
which
true.
is why we don't see them, because they are not the military, apart from that first episode.
And then apart from like the last 5 seasons of DS9.
They're not the military except for when they are. Oh no!
The Imperialist Coast Guard. Okay.
police actions.
Yeah. Just like the Coast Guard. Okay. Yeah, so pretty good act. I think it's gutsy and metal to just pass off an R&D campus as the future.
It does look fairly futuristic for what it's worth.
Yeah. And it still looks exactly like that. I can't find the, like there's that weird metal, like orange metal stuff on one of the roofs. I can't find that, but everything else is the same still. So we get the mob that wants to brain them. The violence, the threat of violence responded to with violence.
We didn't point it out, but they have very cool like lucite clubs. So they have like futuristic whacking clubs, which I think is a nice touch, especially since we know that the miners on Janus 4 just used regular old metal pipes. So that just demonstrates how smart and sophisticated these people are.
And they do talk about, it all fits, because they talk about how together this colony is, how beautiful and how on point it is with everything. I would say the all the weird emotional responses and off-key things are pretty metal.
Yep, I would agree.
The way the away team isn't doing anything for the entire period it takes for Kirk's brother's sister's wife to die.
Yeah, they're really not working hard at all.
So I'll go with a, it's a 7 quality and a 5 metal. Oh, but I forgot about I'm just going to go 7 and 7.
Yeah, I was going to say it was more metal than a 5.
With the vomit monsters and the wires, all that's great.
I mean, I'm going to have to give it a 7 quality. I'm going to give it an 8 metal just for, they get a full point for the audacity of just throwing a mustache on William Shatner and not even, just their total disrespect for the intelligence of the audience. There's no way they're going to get this unless it's William Shatner.
Well, and I bet William Shatner insisted on it being done that way.
He's my brother. Of course he would look like me.
Just bring someone else in, they might want a line.
Like that guy.
Maybe he got paid twice for that day. I don't know. For all the cool stuff, there was also some boring dialogue, and you know how much I hate that. So I can only go as high as 6.5 for quality, but I'm gonna go all the way to 7.5 for metalness.
All right.
There was violence. There was aliens. There was phaser blasts. Sure, there was in self-defense, but there were lucite poles.
Yep.
Yeah, it was good.
So, Matt, I'll take this act and you take the last 2 for my notes peter out.
Sounds good.
All right, so we open up with a captain's log. Whatever the creatures are, they've apparently taken over all inhabitants of Deneva. Meanwhile, ship surgeon Dr. McCoy is examining a strange puncture wound left by one of the creatures on Mr. Spock's back. And then we get the first appearance of Nurse Chapel in a while, and some kind of artificial drama. So Spock's in the sick bay and being treated, and then there's a disagreement on the standards of care between Chapel and McCoy.
Because Nurse Chapel actually thinks it's a good idea to investigate the mysterious alien attack, and Dr. McCoy is like, that's done. No need to investigate further.
Yeah, and then that only lasts so long. Then we cut to the bridge, and then McCoy enters the bridge, still wearing his surgical scrubs. and then holding a transparent thing showing the various things he extracted, which are essentially stingers. And he asserts that nothing can be done.
I like how McCoy's just walking through the ship with, medical waste.
Oh, yeah.
And then Spock wakes up and immediately escapes and immediately makes his way to the bridge where he attempts to take over and, all the pieces fit, steer into the sun.
Yep.
And then they all fight, trying very hard not to knock over anything on the set.
Yeah, it's kind of, it is a very comical, it's a comical fight because there's lots of like constrained violence.
And then Spock is back strapped in. Then he wakes up again pretty fast and says he's ready to work. And explains that pain's just a state of mind. They have a discussion on free will. And Kirk, even though he just attempted to steer the ship into the sun, fought back when people tried to stop him and has been acting crazy and is clearly, at least intermittently, in a lot of pain and losing focus. Kirk genuinely wants to accept that he should maybe be allowed to work. Then McCoy kind of pushes back, and then they ultimately decide to leave him strapped in.
Yeah, so they strap him in, and after they strap him in, helpfully, the biobed provides the K3 indicator, which I guess is the measure of pain. And so by looking at the K3 indicator, McCoy tells Kirk they can see how much pain that Spock is in, which seems like I guess it's a helpful medical indicator, but it's very, very high. And so they theorize that this is why the madness happens, and this makes sense with what Kirk's sister-in-law said. The creatures, the parasites, use this pain to control people, break down their resistance. But Spock still somehow, and throughout the scene, you can see the little floater guy go and go back down and kind of flutter as Spock is fighting with the pain the parasite is inflicting.
Oh, and this is the scene with inverted stakes.
Yep.
Because Kirk's like, essentially, you have to help my nephew and Spock. And then McCoy explains the million people on the planet. So he has a duty of care, a responsibility for. But he is only considering these two people.
Yep.
With Spock writing himself off, actually. Anyway, so then it ends with they leave after much deliberation. They decide to leave the insane person in pain strapped up.
Without a guard.
Again.
Even though he
literally 10 minutes after he's broken free or whatever.
And tried to steer the ship into the sun, but whatever.
And then he says, I am Vulcan. I am a Vulcan. I am a Vulcan. There is no pain. And then breaks the restraints again. And then moseys on over to the transporter room. Scotty.
It's hanging out.
Yeah. And Scotty's on point. He's like, wait, I thought you were confined to sick bay. And then he's like, no, I was. I have an errand on the planet's surface. And then Scotty sees right through this and pulls out his phaser.
But not before Spock has already knocked out and neck pinched the other dude.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's just, but luckily, yeah, he does have his phaser one ready.
Which he holds completely wrong.
Yeah,
he holds it like nothing on the button that we know about.
Like,
which we've seen it before. Anyway, despite not knowing how to hold his one device controlling the situation, it works, and a security is called, and Kirk comes down, and he convinces Kirk that he should be allowed to go to the planet. Oh, in the transporter room, the replicators are gone.
Right, the replicator's gone, and he does have a big red fishing box, like a tackle box, that he intends to use to trap a creature in there.
Trap a
And he
creature.
offers some really insane logic that Kirk's like, yep,
Yeah.
as usual.
He says, I'm already infected, so therefore I should be the one to bring up a creature onto the ship. It's like, wait, no. That's wrong.
I am in complete control of myself, Doctor. The fact that I am here proves that I do not belong in bed.
He just knocked a dude out and only didn't do what he wanted to do because Scott pulled a gun on him.
Then Kirk's like, Mr. Spock, your logic, as usual, is inescapable. Beam him down. Give him your phaser. He'll need that too.
Yeah. Again, part of his orders is to unarm the only person who kept the situation under control and give it to the crazy person.
Yeah, and as Matt alluded to, he has a very nice red Craftsman toolbox.
With a flip lock thing on it.
So he beams down and goes back into the Caltech Applied Physics lobby. Oh no, there's a man.
I think that's Act 3, though, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. So the end of
that's the end of the act.
3 is we see the man holding the space rebar.
Oh, that's right. Okay,
it looks like a key, and then that's it.
That's it. Okay, yeah.
All right then.
Yep.
So talk. I'm not there yet.
What's going on in you? I mean, it is.
He just now got to the transporter.
Oh my! It is there's a lot of for such an action-packed.
Too much talk. Like I know it was the '60s, but you can trim the fat here.
For an episode with an exclamation mark in the title, there is a lot of exposition and talking. So there's a lot of exposition and talking. And I don't know. There's some good scenes. I like Commander Scott's competent moment, even if he does it semi-competently. I like I am a Vulcan, pain doesn't exist, and then beast moding the restraints off. Probably should have prepared for that. Yeah. I like holding the phaser like that. I'm going to give this it's still good. It's not as metal as Sam Kirk, but I'll give it 2 7s.
Yeah, I think Kirk's confusion of his emotional response with him executing his duties is fairly metal. And the way he kind of slips between two mindsets and never realizes that's what's going on.
And how they're both kind of incompetent responses, but differently incompetent.
and they're presented as mutually exclusive, when in fact they are not. Well, you could work to both ends.
That's right.
And let me say, Matt, in one of your acts, Kirk asked for a third alternative, and it really bothers me because he means a second alternative. So I'm just going to put that out now.
Okay, that's a good. That's a good.
Yeah, it's a 7 and 7. The threat of violence, all that, very metal.
The only thing I have to add is I love the reckless decisions. Let's arm the crazy guy because he seems normal at the moment.
Well, and it's not like a calculated recklessness. They're oblivious to it. They think this is normal, and that's the metal part.
That's the best part. They're just like, oh. What was your?
I'm
was your
going
score
7
again,
and 7 as well. 7s.
Wow, straight 7s.
7s all around.
Whew. Should have doubled down on that round.
Just like Scotty and his just like Spock and his little metal toolbox there. Let's get out of here.
All right. Okay, so Spock and his toolbox down on the planet. There's a guy who is menacing him. He immediately attacks Spock and he drops his phaser in the scuffle. And Spock is clearly in pain, probably not quite fully there, but he is still able to Vulcan neck pinch the guy and regain his phaser. But again, like there's also the pain from the parasites. It's unclear if the colonist guy is also affected by the parasite. I was unclear of that, but it doesn't matter. There's another. Tim is laughing
I'm sorry.
because another one of the thingies flies at Spock.
No, I'm not even there.
No.
I'm laughing at the janitor with his
With this big old pipe.
with
This
his,
thing that looks like a key without the.
yeah. That's what I'm laughing.
And I can't find that red tile wall, so that must be at whatever Cal State campus and not the Northrop complex.
He goes back to where they're all kind of like glooping around, and he gets one. He phasers it down. He uses some very interesting lucite tongs, and I just love the juxtaposition of the clear 1960s toolbox he's using, but the very futuristic lucite tongs to pick up the creature.
I would also like to say that his tool belt appears to be Velcro.
Oh yeah, it very much is Velcro. It is the future, Tim. So he brings it back to the ship. They put it in one of the science things, and they start to examine it. And this is where it gets very sciencey and technical. But in analyzing the creature, they discover that it resembles a brain cell. And as Kirk says, that would answer a lot of questions. So they surmise that this is each creature is a single cell of a larger organism, a huge organism, in fact, that's somehow connected by a gigantic field or something. So all of these are just individual cells of a giant extragalactic creature for some reason. So they don't know, they have no evidence for this, but they don't quite understand it. So they immediately surmise it must be from an entirely different galaxy. Okay. With different physical laws. Sure.
He got the salad tongs out finally. Go on.
Yeah. So maybe Spock is being affected by the creature. I'm not sure, but there's just like a lot of wild speculation. But they have to figure out a way to destroy it. Unfortunately, if it's outside of our universe, regular physics don't apply to it. So how could you do that? And so they begin to just contemplate. Kirk remembers that the Denevian who flew into the sun said he was free. So that's a clue. And Kirk orders that the medical and life science departments should analyze this thing within the hour, because science can be put on a deadline. And so they just start analyzing it with once and abandoned. I guess Kirk goes get some coffee or something.
We learned that there's somehow 14 science labs.
Oh yeah, there's 14 science labs on even if they have one creature. I don't know what they're going to do. So they have 14 science labs working on it. They try various things to annihilate the creature. Tim, you might notice some contradictions coming up. They try every kind of radiation they can think of. They try intense heat as great as 9,000 degrees, which doesn't really seem that high cosmically, but sure. There's nothing they can do.
I would take exception to there not being a unit on there, but at 9,000, does it matter?
I don't know. It won't die. Temperatures and radiation, which would burn Spock or his nephew to ashes, don't affect the creature. They're just kind of stuck. And now we have the inversion of the original inversion, where McCoy is very concerned that they have to save Spock and his nephew, who's the last survivor of his brother's family. And Kirk says, no, there's 1 million people down there. I can't be preoccupied with 2 lives, which is literally just what he was earlier. But I guess he listened. I don't know. So it's a pretty short act. We just learned that it can't be killed in any way. And that's it, really. That's the end.
And Kirk is willing to destroy 1 million lives if it stops the spread of this
Right,
thing.
that's true. That is very true. Because he now thinks that he can't let this continue if there's no way to kill it.
Something prime directive, right?
Well, they're Earthicans. You know, they're fine. They can kill them. There's no prime directive here.
Oh, okay.
Except maybe
At the end of the act, there's still. Oh, it just faded to black.
Well, there's like a captain's log. Then they have a 15-second conversation after that. Then the act ends. If I recall. But yeah, it's what I'm putting you gentlemen in the hot seat with me. I want that third alternative.
Well, they got the cell in the salad spinner, and all I could think of was. I have my whole soundboard back again, so
nice.
It's just nice to have everything. What do you think about that? No.
If I wanted your opinion, I'd tell it to you.
Anyway, I liked how short that act was.
I mean, the other acts are pretty long, so
still had quite a lot of exposition.
A lot of exposition.
I like the space tongs.
Space tongs.
Space tongs. Yep.
I like the out of order, like all the dial, like Kirk says after he Spock puts up the supposition of a one cell creature. Kirk says yes, that would answer a lot of questions, and then Spock goes, "Do you understand what I'm suggesting, Captain?"
Yeah, that's there.
And then the inversion of McCoy and Kirk's positions, that's really metal, especially their apparent lack of awareness.
Or memory.
It's like everybody has to play a role. They remember that much.
I don't know. Throw some numbers at it.
I mean, there was an attempted pipe bashing. There was tongs. There's lots of talk. It's not as metal, but I'm going to give it a 6 and a 6. I mean, it's still good. 6 and 7 quality because it was short. And they kind of cut to the chase. So 6 and 7.
What's your 7?
7 quality, 6 metal.
I would go 6 and 6, but I really like the Craftsman toolbox.
Mm.
And I bet they painted it to get it that great, a shiny red. So respect to the craftsmanship.
I really liked the drippiness of the fried eggs.
Yeah, they did a good job. That's another Rewatching right there.
Yeah, and I feel like that probably didn't come through on a 60s television.
Oh,
but,
no.
Here in HD, you know, it's awfully drippy and gooey. So, and there was another close-up of one of them where it looks like they sprayed it down with some water. You know, they got people
Make it moist.
with attention to detail that I'm sure at the time wasn't appreciated, but I appreciate it now. So I'm going to actually add half a point to my quality score for that. So I'm going 6.5 and 6.
All right. Okay, last act. I wonder what's going to happen.
Let's do this.
Sure, it won't be confusing. Okay, so, so even though they've all began this whole operation, watching that ship fly into the sun, they haven't really thought about that much until right now. So they're still debating on what to do. There's not much they can do right now, and they know if they ever bring Peter, the boy, out of the coma, he's not going to last, and they still don't know how much longer. Spock is able to hold out. So Spock suggests that he and Peter should beam down to the planet so they can just clear out, glass the planet, kill the creature, solve the problem. But Kirk is unwilling to make this sacrifice, unwilling to take this course of action. And then suddenly he remembers, remember the sun thing? And so they start listing the physical properties of a sun. So it's not radiation and it's not heat. So what's the third thing a sun has, Tim?
Light?
Light, yes. The non-radiant light.
So they stray into the metaphysical and don't even realize it.
Yeah. So so they also
Request denied.
Also, while they're talking about this, there's a computer on Kirk's desk with a flashing light, and they're like, "Aha!" It's like this very fun little moment. So Kirk thinks it must be light, and weird ass Dr. McCoy says light isn't lethal, and that doesn't make any sense. But Kirk points out that the creatures were hiding indoors and in the shadows. And maybe that's because they were sensitive to light. And if there was a strong enough amount of light, that maybe they would die. And Spock agrees because that's logical. McCoy then points out they can't bring the planet into the sun, which is a problem. But then Spock says they can bring the equivalent of a sun to the planet by planting a string of satellites around the planet with trimanganese and trevium, both of which we know produce a lot of light somehow. So they make a device. They put the little bio lab, salad spinner thing. They subject it to 1 million candles per square inch, which is a standard light measurement of light. And of course, that kills it. Luckily, everyone's wearing goggles, which prevents them from being victim to the high intensity light. But the theory is confirmed. The light kills the creatures. So Spock volunteers, of course he does, to get lit, I don't know, to see if it works on the parasites in his body. And everyone says you can't do that. McCoy is very upset. McCoy notes that Spock is the best first officer in Starfleet. We can't risk him to this, but Spock insists.
I need to correct my description of it as a salad spinner, because with Nurse Chapel carrying it around, it looks more like one of those cake things.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. It
or
does
like
look
a glass cloche,
Yeah.
like if you get some fancy schmancy smoked thing at a restaurant and they take it off and it's all smoky. That's more what it looks like. So let's just call it the lucite cloche.
Lucite cloche, very good. So McCoy says, I'll get you some glasses, but Spock insists that the people on the planet won't have glasses. And they want to recreate the situation as close as possible. So he refuses for some reason.
After the light, it looks like a cooked egg.
It is basically a cooked egg. And so McCoy protests and says that will damage even his Vulcan optic nerve. But Spock doesn't seem to care. Excuse me. And so they just let him go in there and they turn on the lights and they blast him with the super spotlight for a couple of seconds. And then Spock stands up and he says, the creature is gone.
How does he know?
I guess because he's a Vulcan. I guess he's aware of things. I am free of it and its pain. And I'm also quite blind. An equitable trade. So it worked, I guess. And Spock is blind now, so that's a plus.
Well, I don't remember him being blind after this.
Okay, so then literally seconds later, Nurse Chapel rushes in and says, I've gotten the results of the tests on the creature's remains. and McCoy reads it and says, oh no. Why? I threw the total light spectrum at the creature. It wasn't necessary. I didn't stop to think that only one kind of light might have killed it. Interesting. And so Spock says, just as dogs are sensitive to certain sounds which humans cannot hear, these creatures are evidently sensitive to light we cannot see. And so it turns out It turns out they didn't need to blind Spock. They could have just thrown ultraviolet light at him and he would be fine. And it wouldn't have damaged his eyes? Question mark. So that's what they do. They put all the satellites in orbit. If you're watching the HD version, they have a fun little animated computer graphic of all the satellites. And they blast all the surface of the planet, I guess, even where they were hiding with ultraviolet radiation. No, sorry, excuse me, not radiation. Ultraviolet light.
Light.
Different. And so they kill them all. Even the ones hiding inside, I don't know. Even though they have taken a lot of pains to say it's not visible light, there's a clear color change when the thing is happening. Maybe, you know what, Doug, is probably affecting the film. That's what's happening there. The things die. Everything is fine. There's some fucked up blind jokes now.
No.
So Kirk radios down to sickbay. He says, "Tell Spock it worked." And McCoy says, "Yes, he'll be happy to hear that."
I bet he didn't see that coming.
Kirk says, "Bones, it wasn't your fault," even though it clearly was, and they could have waited 5 minutes for the test to come back. But oh well, Spock's blind now. Life goes on. Planet saved. End of episode. It's not really the end of the episode.
Oh, I'll get out.
Okay, yeah. So now there's just one more confusing thing to explain. All the creatures are destroyed. They're back on the bridge. Not Uhura is recording something for Starfleet Command. And Spock walks onto the bridge, to everyone's surprise, not bumping into things. And it turns out that his blindness was temporary.
Oh!
Because Vulcans have an inner eyelid, which I guess to mean an eyelid inside of their eyes that like closes from the inside, maybe, which acts as a shield against the high intensity light of the Vulcan sun. But they usually ignore it because they don't use it very much. And then Spock failed to mention this, apparently. Maybe he was too frazzled. But he said, "Yeah, it's not, I'm not blind no more." And he says that his first sight was the face of Dr. McCoy, and Kirk teases him by saying he saw such a beautiful sight when he woke up. And then that's the end of the episode.
For real this time?
No, well, he says, "I said, please don't tell Spock he was the best first officer in the fleet." And Spock's over there.
Yeah, like across the room.
"Well, thank you, Dr. McCoy." And then Kirk's like, "You've been so concerned about his Vulcan eyes, Doctor. You forgot about his Vulcan ears."
What?
Head warp. Yeah. That's the
end.
All right, then.
Well, I mean, maybe there's a paradigm shift to science. And
yeah, okay, that's true.
Yeah, I mean, light cannot be reduced merely to radiation. There's something more to it that we are incapable of detecting, except in higher planes now.
Yeah.
Well, I want to know this blasting them with ultraviolet light stuff. Like, how many of the colonists did they just give skin cancer to?
No, not cancer. Light.
They can fix that.
It does seem to be like a lot of light, doesn't it? 1 million candles per square inch. Does that even make sense?
And so the only thing that we know, the aliens are never named, right?
No,
not even like given a collective informal name.
Yeah, they didn't. They just call them the creatures, I think.
So the only thing they infect that we know of is humans, right?
They did humanoids. I mean, I don't know if all those other civilizations were humans per se.
That's true. But we don't know that. My point is, there's only 1 million people on this planet.
Right. True.
It seemed like you could have done a more, because there wasn't actually a time pressure here.
None at all. Everyone was already infected.
Like they had, presumably they could blockade the planet if anybody is coherent enough to attempt to run it.
Right.
So it seemed like they're putting some time pressure on themselves that the situation didn't warrant.
Yeah.
I want to know what's going on with McCoy's bottles of spray.
Oh, yeah. He does have lots of bottles of spray.
He's 3 different colors of spray ready next to his little TV monitor there.
There was something. There's lots of fun little notes there that explain like what is there and what isn't there usually on the sick bay set. But the script refers to the aliens only as things or creatures, and the name Denevian neural parasite was used by the Star Trek Encyclopedia. Despite Spock indicating that mass insanity originated in the Beta Politaran system. They also use neural parasite. There's a display in Keiko O'Brien's classroom which calls it a blastoneuron. That's about it.
I'm assuming the interior eyelids are never mentioned in the Roddenberry Berman track, but are probably mentioned 17 times in the Kurtzman track by now.
Oh, I'm sure that there's a whole season of discovery about how they're just sad, and that's why they caused all the destruction.
Keeps the monsters at bay.
All right. I mean, I'm just going to give it some scores here. Being blind is some of our favorite Guardians are blind. Irradiating the planet's pretty metal. Just going in without waiting for the tests that you know are running is pretty metal. It's an 8 metal. It's a 7 quality.
Yeah, I agree. It's an 8 and a 7. I think the artificial time pressure, decisions made without facts, possible misunderstanding of what light is, and then the massive, overwhelming, brutal application of it to an entire planet when you could have addressed the. Actually, we don't know how big the planet is, but yeah.
They basically committed a genocide and didn't care about it.
Well, they were bad though.
Were they?
Well, and there's an assumption here, a presumption that this horde is a horde and never branches off. They don't seem concerned to where this thing could have spread.
That's true. And actually, they kind of give themselves an out by just assuming that it's just one organism. Huh.
And they don't actually verify that what they did worked.
That's true.
And they gave everyone skin cancer. So I'd say the metalness for this is off the charts, all the way up at 8.5. You two seem to forget how much exposition and hemming and hawing they did, which reduces the quality down to a 6.5.
Okay, that's fair.
Damn right, it's fair. All right. Well.
Oh wait, Doug, I don't have Doug's scores because I wasn't paying attention.
It was 8 and 7.
8, 7.
I think he just matched yours. You see.
All right.
But for completely different reasons, to be clear.
Right.
Okay. Interesting. All right. So again, this is not our medalist episode. It's so hard to get.
I bet it's pretty solid, though.
But it's pretty solid. It is, let's see, right now we have 29 episodes. This is number 19, so it's solidly in the middle of the pack here. Actually, it's in the upper, it's in the bottom of the upper quartile. A little metaler than Space
Are you saying
Seed.
it's upper lower middle class?
It's upper lower middle class.
Upper lower, wait.
It's lower upper middle class.
Got it.
It's a little metaler than Space Seed. It's a little less metal than Arena. That seems right to me. But more importantly, we have finished the first season of the original series. There are a lot of people out there who said it could never be done. And to those people, I say, thanks for your lack of confidence, jerk, but you're wrong. Because here we are, ready to begin a whole new season, a season with some highs and some non-highs. But I, for one, look forward to our next episode, which is going to be certainly the most metal episode of season 2 until we do the next one. A mock time. Great episode. Stay tuned. We're going to do it eventually.
All right.
Yeah, 7 more episodes until we hit Cat's Paw.
Yes. Cannot wait. Scared, kids?
Sorry, pal. We're gonna have to do this later. But could you do me a favor? Could you have a great day? Could you do that for me? Thanks.